All right. Hello, everybody. Not exactly what you're expecting to see here, right? This, as you can probably tell, this is not Mark with me, even though it says Mark. This is an alter ego, right? Mark went a little feminine today. Gang, this is Zara. Zara is a friend of mine, fellow photographer. You may recognize her from the picture that I posted and that she's been posting because we're going to be working together on some cool stuff. And today, I should actually check and make sure that we're actually streaming. Hey, look, it is working. Okay, good. I always forget to do that. Tim, that is the correct way to spell it. So Tim is here, and Dean is here, and Sandy and Steve are here, and Harley is also here. The whole gang is here. In fact, Zara, I should send you this link so you can actually see the chat, because that might be nice, right? So there is in your little bubble. Yeah, Steve said, so here's the lady that made Spyros look good. Right? Yeah, I mean, right, she does. She makes me look weird. Hey, Wayne is here from the UK. Sandy says hello to you, Zara, and Tim said hello, and that is the correct spelling. Oh, can't hear Zara. I did the classic thing, which is, no, it's not you, it's me. I forgot to add your audio. I always forget to add the audio. So, yeah, let me fix that. So you've just not been saying anything so far. Do me a favor, Zara, and talk a little bit, because I'll need to adjust your audio properties. If you want to.
I mean, I can talk all you want.
All right.
I need to turn off this. Okay, perfect. And then I can see the chat. There you go. Okay. Now this makes more sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense, right?
Yep. There we go. Oh no, this is Facebook. Oh my God, there's too many screens.
Right? Okay. Hey, S Squared Design is here too. Hello, hello. So we can hear her now. Excellent. So that's it. Yeah. Ooh, I gotta keep this up. So yeah, so I'm officially not gonna edit at all today because, right? Like I'm just not even gonna pretend. And
I mean, you can try, and then I can tell you all the things you're doing wrong.
We could do that. So the reason Zara's here is because we needed to do a live stream test for the live stream we're actually going to do on Wednesday. And then I was like, well, I got to do this stream today anyway. And you might as well join me and we could just chat about whatever. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to chat about whatever. So if you guys, I mean, what are you guys doing this weekend? What are you doing this weekend, Zara?
What is this weekend? I've got...
It's Mother's Day weekend.
It is Mother's Day weekend. I know, my mom just called me and she was like, are we doing something on Sunday? And, and she goes, Mother's Day? And I was like,
oh yeah.
I got a sales session tomorrow morning. I got two actually back to back.
Okay.
And then I got parent obligations. There's a birthday party for a 3-year-old that I have to go to. Then I think we've got a dinner thing Saturday night, and then Sunday apparently is Mother's Day, so I guess I'll be doing
something there.
Mother's Day's things.
Right. Oh my God, I just saw Shane's comment. Shane says, if Mark looked like this all the time, I'd never miss a hangout.
Yep. Well, join us on Wednesdays. Wednesday mornings.
Shane, that's good. Yeah, so Steve is shooting his niece's first communion on Saturday. That's awesome.
Oh, nice.
Delivering the 50th anniversary re-wedding photos also on Saturday. That's very cool. And then trying to get a shoot going for next week, maybe. Ooh.
Nice.
S Squared Design Works is trying out his new, or her, don't know. Don't want to.
Are you a him or a her?
We don't know.
What do you go by?
or a Z, right? Trying out the new 6D Mark II. That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, that camera got a lot of crap, but I think people get too worked up about cameras.
You know what's funny is when I was shooting Canon and when it first came out, a lot of my friends, instead of going to the Mark III, the 5D Mark III, they actually went to that because it was full frame. it had 2 card slots, and it did video better than the Mark III. So it was like, why spend the extra money going to the Mark III if you could get the camera for less? So,
Yeah, right, right. Yeah.
but
S Squared Design is a him today in the chat and said it's
okay.
eons better than my OG 5D that I had been shooting with. Right? That's
Oh my
awesome.
God. I don't even remember my last 5D.
I've never had a 5D. I did shoot Canon for a while. I started my
Yeah.
first DSLR. Hold on a second. Oh God, I got
Oh no,
shit in the way
technical
over here.
difficulties.
Ah,
Do you have your first DSLR?
there it is right there. The Rebel XT, the second Rebel ever. I actually had the first Rebel ever, but then I broke it and they replaced it on warranty with the XT.
I feel like that's what I started with. I feel like that was the
Yeah,
first camera I ever got.
that's
But
awesome.
I never meant to get into photography. It was supposed to be like a little camera that we took, traveling.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I meant to get into
Yeah.
into photography, but um, I never quite imagined that I'd end up where I am, and that's not a complaint.
Yeah. No, no, me neither.
Right. Steve is wondering what your main photography is, Zara. So if you want to tell him a little bit about that, go ahead.
Yeah. So pretty much I started out doing weddings 12 years ago. And then I got into more boudoir. So now my mainstream is pretty much boudoir and personal branding photography. So I do some small business, some commercial photography, not commercial in the sense like people working for Apple and things like that, but commercial for like local businesses. And then I do about 10 to 12 weddings a year. I don't do more than that. I do some seniors, some families for like my longstanding clients, but mainly I would say about 60% of my actual portrait work is boudoir, and then about 30 is branding, and then the rest is weddings and families and all that stuff. So yeah, and then that's about it. We're
Nice.
just hang, shoot pictures, edit occasionally.
Occasionally, right? Once in a while.
I have the sales session I have tomorrow. I still like the pictures are on a card, and I hope to God I can find where I stuck that card.
Oh God, that's not good.
Whoops.
Oh goodness. So since we were talking about it, I want to know now, like, what was everybody's first DSLR? I think we did this once before, but this is always fun. So Harley already told us his first DSLR was the XTI, and Dean's was the Nikon D50, and S Squared Design Works says brings me back to my first, which was a Rebel 2K. Here we go. Shane started with the Canon 60D. I shot that camera for like 5 or 6 years. That was a really good camera too. Steve
Yeah.
started with the 3300, the D3300. Tim, the Pentax K50. And Tim bought that camera because of my review video on the Pentax K50.
Nice.
Yeah. And Sandy is still shooting with the Canon 50D, her first DSLR. That's awesome.
Nice.
One of these days, I need to set up. I do. I don't know. You probably know this, Zara, but if you don't, I do live shoots on my channel as well. And one of these times, I want to do a live shoot with this Rebel.
You should.
Yeah, I should. I have. I think. Yeah. Wow. I'd probably have to use my 50mm lens. I have a 51.8 that I could use for it.
Because that'll be like a 85 pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
And
portrait lens.
right. But I typically shoot length. I typically shoot full length because a lot of the stuff I end up doing is more conceptual. So I try to remember to go in and get tighter shots on occasion.
Right.
But I always forget because I'm so focused on like the scene and the story we're trying to tell in the shot.
Yeah, and it's hard with stuff you shoot. Like it's so like well styled and all that to
Yeah.
try to detail shots kind of silly.
Yeah.
I tend
Yeah.
Or I like always forget to get the detail shots, and then I have to go in and like crop them out of other images for their album.
Okay.
It'd be so much easier if you just remembered.
Right. Dean's. Did I read that, Ryan? Oh, S Squared Design Works said first DSLR was the Canon 30D in '04. Hello, Macau
Oh,
Nutrition
nice.
Association. That's Felipe. Hello, Felipe. I remembered his name. Sandy says, I take it to the beach when it's raining because she doesn't want to destroy the 5D3. Wait a minute now. The
Yep.
5D3 is weather sealed, isn't it?
No, the 4 is.
What? Are you
3
kidding me? The
isn't. Yep.
5D3 is not weather sealed? Oh my
Yep.
God.
Yeah, it sucked. I found
Yeah.
out the hard way.
Oh no. What'd you do to it?
It was before I kind of shot in like a rain
Oh God. Did you destroy
in
it?
Tucson, a monsoon, pretty much.
Oh God.
It was before I switched, and yeah, that poor camera was not happy with me. The lens was well sealed.
So the lens was okay. Well, in a way, that's probably the better option, right? Because what lens was it? Was it like a 70 to 200
Right.
or something?
It was a 7200, yeah.
Yeah. I would rather destroy the camera body and not destroy the lens, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Unless it was like the kit, like a kit, like an 18 to 55 or whatever, like that.
No.
You could play hockey with that thing and it wouldn't matter.
It probably wouldn't break, let's be honest. It was like crappy little lenses are built so well.
Right.
You throw it across the room and it still works.
Yeah. They take quite a bit of abuse. It's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah. What I was going to say about you shooting with that Rebel is, you know Brian DeMint, right?
Yeah, I know Brian. I met him briefly at After Dark.
Yep. Yeah, that's where he would be. I remember it was like a couple of years ago and he was like doing one of his things. I think it was at an AD. It was maybe one of the first times he had taught. And someone asked him like, oh, what camera are you using? What lens are you using? And he was like, whatever this is. He was like, I have no idea. It does the job.
Yeah. And that's like, gear, like I talk about this all the time, but obviously talking about gear can be super fun, right? But, more often than not, like, I don't give a shit either. I mean, all I really care about is that I have something that gives me manual control and has a hot shoe on it. That's all I care about, right? After that, and it needs to focus, right? I mean, other than that, like, who cares? I'm shooting with the Micro Four Thirds, it's like, whatever. Right. It's a camera, it takes pictures. I heard, this is kind of interesting, though. Speaking of gear, I heard that Sony is working on a 34 megapixel Micro Four Thirds sensor.
Wouldn't be surprised. I actually just talked to the local Sony rep that's here. They're doing some kind of an event by me, and he didn't mention anything, but I can definitely ask. Because
I would be pretty excited. Obviously, there's going to be issues with packing that many pixels onto that small of a sensor, but they keep advancing technology at the same time. So I would expect that, like the Canon, what was it, the 5D SR or whatever the hell they called that 50 megapixel monster?
Yep. The RS, SR, something like that.
I would imagine that, now, whatever, it's been 3 or 4 years since that camera came out, maybe even 5, that they would be better at packing those pixels onto sensors and getting performance. So I would expect that sensor will actually do a pretty good job.
But here's my question. Like, what's the purpose?
Well, for me,
of that.
Yeah, for me, like, I don't even need 34 megapixels. I would like. For me, I think a sweet spot is about 24 because that would make it just a little bit easier for me to print. Not that I do a ton of printing, but that would make it a little bit easier for me to print some of the sizes that I want to print when I'm hanging art in my house.
Right. Yeah, and see, that's what I never understood. I've had some people in my workshops and stuff, and they're like, "Oh my god, like I just want all the megapixels." And I'm like, I'd rather have low light capability.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because unless you're printing for like an entire wall,
right, you don't need it. And part of the reason I'm okay with Micro Four Thirds, which typically tends to be a little bit weaker in the low light situation, is that I almost never shoot in low light. I'm in the studio and I'm using flash, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, your lighting doesn't matter in that scenario. Like low light is only really good or really needed for like weddings and events.
Right, exactly.
And and even then, setting light or two isn't going to hurt you.
Yeah. So we got a couple questions here. Shane, if you don't mind, Shane, we're actually going to keep this question for our stream on Wednesday. Because Shane was said that you mentioned that you could tell him how to do more photography and still run my full-time courier business, which is a 24-hour, 6-day-week gig. And we want to...
the group?
Yeah, I think that was in the group.
Okay.
And if you're okay with that, we want to save that for the business wind-up. I'm excited about that. I mean, I'm mostly excited that we'll be drinking wine at 10 in the morning, but, you know.
Yeah, I know.
I'm also excited about... Go ahead.
Our new hashtag is, it's never too early to drink when you are self-employed.
Exactly. So Shane said, fair enough, he'll be there for that. Felipe was wondering how and where to focus for landscape. Many people say to focus 1/3 of your image, but is that true?
That's a you question.
That's a me question. That's a me question. So I'll take this one. And there's two ways to approach this, Felipe. The first is you can do just that. You can focus. So I tend to approach it this way. I don't necessarily focus 1/3 of the way in or anything like that. What I do is I look at a thing that I think of as the principal subject in the landscape. So maybe it's a tree, maybe, you know, it's, I don't know, maybe it's a rock, maybe it's a particular section of a waterfall or a stream if there's a water feature in the shot, something like that, and I'll focus on that. And then I shoot my shot. However, if you're just going for the landscape where you want that infinite depth of field, where you want everything in focus in the shot, 1/3 of a way in is sort of a crib sheet way of shooting what's called your hyperfocal distance. And your hyperfocal distance is when the camera is focused to infinity, which for the most part gives you infinite depth of field. It doesn't give you infinite depth of field if you have like something, you know, an inch from the lens. That'll fall out of focus because it's just too close. But that's a shorthand or kind of a crib sheet way of doing that. If you want to know precisely what your hyperfocal distance is, then use a depth of field calculator like, let me look it up, DOF calculator. And I'll post this in the chat. This depth of field calculator will allow you to put in your camera, put in your focal length, and it'll tell you exactly what the hyperfocal distance is. And then you would, if you wanted to focus exactly at that point, then you would actually need to like measure or at least estimate out how many feet or meters the hyperfocal distance is from you and focus on something in that area in the shot. So here, DOF calculator, let me pop this into the chat. Calculator. And also, that one is a web-based one, but if you have a smartphone, whether it's Android or iOS, just do a search in your respective app store for a depth of field calculator, and you'll find a number of apps that you can choose from that you can download that will do the same thing. So that's how I'd approach that. All right, let's see here. Steve, going back to the megapixels, Steve says that's why I have a 24 megapixel and a 46 megapixel. So he's got both bases covered.
And that's kind of how I am. Like I shoot with Sony now, and my A9 is 24 something, and the A7R3 or whatever it is the 40 whatever.
Yeah.
And like never use my 7. Like I just shoot everything with the 9, and it's just the 9 is supposedly the better camera. But you know, I don't know. I mean, we've talked about this where like when I was shooting Canon, like I shot with the 5D Mark II for years before I realized that it had video capability.
Right.
And it's like, just because I don't understand like the technical aspect of it as well as some other people out there, doesn't, you know, make me any less of a photographer, any less of a business owner.
So speaking of that, though, you are actually using that A7R3 now, but it's just not for photos, right?
For video, because it's sitting around collecting dust.
And speaking of that, I did just pop Zara's channel link into the chat. If you would check out her channel, and if you want, if you are interested in running a photography business, that's what she's going to be focusing on her channel. You should absolutely give her a subscribe because if there's one thing she knows how to do, it's make money.
Yeah,
That's not the only thing.
I like to claim that, like, and I mean, it's true. I'm an average photographer. Like, I know how to get a good shot and I know how to get a sellable image. But really, my forte is 100% in the business. Business. Like, it takes me forever to figure out how to get a webcam going when all I had to do was plug it into the USB.
We all have our strengths,
so don't
right?
ask me technical questions. You will not want to hear the answer.
That's all right. That's why on the Wednesday streams, I'll mostly be taking a back seat and fielding the questions because, I mean, I have my business experience, which is in doing this on YouTube and selling educational products and sort of building, a quote unquote internet business. But I have zero experience in building a studio business, a photography business like your business, Zara. And so on those streams,
our strengths complement each other.
Exactly.
I have to do this.
Yeah. So we do have a couple other questions and some comments. Obviously, your alter ego as Mark.
Sorry, Mark.
No, sorry, Mark. We love you, Mark. We love you.
So, I promise I'll let Mark come back.
Yeah, Mark will be back on Monday for Photoplan for sure. Oh, God. Cochise, hey Cochise, I'm just looking at these comments and seeing them. Morning Mark just got 10 times more attractive. Oh my God. Oh God. Oh, that's right. Steve's are you coming to ClickCon, Zara?
I don't think so. Because that's here in a couple of days, isn't it?
No, it's like in August. It's August 5th through 8th or something.
Maybe. I was just talking. Well, I mean, if it's in August, I might be able to. I think I was supposed to go out to Tennessee in August for their PPA, but I haven't heard. So yeah, maybe. I mean, I'll chat him up and see. Maybe Miller's will.
Yeah. And I mean, if this helps at all, Steve is bringing some scotch, so.
I mean, right. What kind of scotch, though, is really the
good
question.
Scotch. I mean, Steve's a bit of a scotch aficionado. So, Steve, if you want to tell us what kind of scotch you're bringing, and he turns 40, I mean, come on.
Oh.
Birthday and scotch. Here, to sweeten up the pot, I will also bring some scotch. My wife and I have a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue in the wine cellar, so.
I just got a bottle of that for my dad.
Ooh.
Yeah. I can, I mean, if I do show up, I'll bring you guys some good old Colorado whiskey.
Yeah, there we go.
A couple of good ones here.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, hey, this is off topic, but did UPS stop by yet? It was supposed to be there yesterday or today.
Not yet.
Okay, well, let me know when you. I'll check the tracking. I meant to send you those tracking labels. I will send you those tracking labels. I sent Zara some stuff, and it's supposed to get there today. All right. Anyway,
I'm excited.
Yeah, Harley said up here. I got to come back to this. Harley said another friend has a Fuji GFX. Back to the megapixels, and the high res allows the viewer to zoom in and see the weave of cloth on a portrait. Works well for commercial clients who have clothing websites. That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Oh yeah. And that makes sense. Like, there are certainly applications for high megapixels, but
right. But unless you're shooting commercial, I feel like going after gear that is just a higher price tag simply because it's like the newest and greatest. Like, unless you have a specific use for that thing,
it's kind of pointless.
Really? Right.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think what it boils down to really is just understanding your needs as a photographer. And for somebody who's still learning, they may not necessarily understand their needs, which is what people like me and people like Zara and people like, whoever else you're following and learning from on the internet are there for. Some maybe give better advice than others, and I'm not trying to knock on anybody at all, but I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
Right.
So, I think I think I would like something, like I said earlier, around 24 megapixels. Like I said, just to give me a little bit easier, a little bit more latitude. I'm at 16 now, which is already big enough for most of what I print, but I'd like to print a few larger prints, like 20 by 30. And sometimes, the image isn't just right for that. And so I've held off on printing some of those that I'd like to, just because
Right.
the file's not quite holding up when I try to enlarge. Yeah, 20 to 24, Cochise said, is perfect. Okay, somebody just
Yeah.
asked for your Instagram, Zara, so I'm going to pop that into the chat.
I just did.
Oh, okay. I got the link in there too. So, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and make you an admin right now. You're a moderator, so that'll allow you to post links in the chat,
Nice.
Zara. All right. Hello, Subvids. Yeah, Subvids just joined us, and it's Highland Park Scotch.
Ooh,
Awesome.
I've never heard of that.
I haven't either, but I think that's why Steve's bringing it. I'm excited for the Scotch. All right. S Squared Design said, all in for business advice. Is that going to be the main focus of the Wednesday stream? That is exactly what the Wednesday stream is going to be all about. Yes. So bring yourself. If you want to bring some wine, bring some wine, because that's also welcome. But
especially if you're going to share.
Yeah, exactly, right? But S Squared said, sadly, I can't say the same, that wine and table saws don't mix very well, which totally makes sense. Wine and table saws should probably never be mixed.
That story.
Oh God! Oh,
I have that story.
I mean, this is kind of a bad story, but I have a table saw story that, thank God, I'm not involved in.
Oh no.
Well, I won't tell that story because it's not. I'm not going to tell that story. Cochise is going to bring some absinthe. I'll drink some absinthe. Yeah.
Oh man, I can't remember the last time I drank that, but it was not good.
I've never had it, so I'm not. I don't even know.
Oof.
Okay, so Steve's asking about the Wednesday stream. Steve, that stream is going to be at 10 a.m. Central Time. That's 9 a.m. Mountain Time. That is something Zulu time. I wrote it down somewhere. Just a minute.
I think 3 p.m.
3 p.m. Okay. Let me get to my Instagram because I know it's on there. At least I think I put it on there. 3. Yep, you're right. It's 3 Zulu. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Felipe says, having a good portfolio is good for promoting your business. What suggestion do you have to make a good portfolio or just promote in Instagram? That's a good question. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Sarah? Because I've never really been in a situation where I needed a portfolio.
So I think portfolios are kind of like the old school way of doing things. Like back in when I started with weddings and stuff, like you had albums to show clients, and I still do. But really, your website and Instagram, Facebook is kind of dying off. Are going to be your two biggest things. So just having like a continuous and constant feed on your social media and updating your website is going to be the best way. Having a blog, so whenever you're shooting sessions, make sure you're blogging those sessions so that there's constant new content coming up. What I've noticed is because I have a big enough business right now that it sustains itself without too much marketing. But I noticed that every time I post a new image on one of my social media sites, all of a sudden I'm getting emails, I'm getting phone calls, I'm getting messages of people, asking about pricing, asking about booking a session and all that. So it's kind of like a reminder. And the reason why I say concentrate on like Instagram is because, I mean, we all saw the trend with like MySpace, right? As soon as like our parents started getting on MySpace, we kind of like created the Facebook. And so the same thing's happening with Facebook where parents and grandparents are trying to get on there. And so now everyone's going to Instagram. And especially with stories on Instagram, like because people were saying, oh, Snapchat's the next big thing. Stories on Instagram have taken over. And honestly, I don't even have a Snapchat account anymore because it was like, why do both? Like when there's one that can have the majority of my clients. And right now, the demographic that's on Instagram, depending on what you shoot, most of it. So if you're doing high school seniors, if you're doing families, a lot of young families are on there. If you're doing weddings, my wedding couples pretty much are all on Instagram. Any of those personal branding, like I get so many of my personal branding clients from Instagram because they're seeing my feed, they're seeing my stories, and the majority of my stuff. So like I keep up with my personal page. I should probably do better with keeping up with my 2 business pages. But a lot of it comes from my story. So when I'm posting things in stories, like, oh, we're just, we're doing this shoot, or like, here's an image from like the other shoot, or whatever it is, that's what's getting people more interested. And so showing constant work. And so if you are new and you don't have a ton of clients yet, there's absolutely nothing wrong with like grabbing some friends and going out and shooting. And that's one of the things that I think we would both agree on, is that always shoot, like always develop your skills, always try out new things. I try to make it a point that like once a month that I go out and I just shoot for myself, whether it's, just a concept I want to try out, it's someone really, unique that I've been wanting to shoot. Once a month, I try to do something that's purely for myself to just kind of keep my education of whatever I'm doing going. Like I get to learn my camera better. I get to learn lighting better. I will intentionally go out and shoot like in harsh light to try to figure out how I set up my lights to, compensate for it. But all of that goes on my Instagram account. Some of it will go on Facebook, but Facebook again is kind of just dying off. Groups on Facebook are going to be better than like pages or your personal page. But yeah, just going to the Instagram feed and just making sure that you have work on there, because that's where people are looking at. No one's going to email you and go, hey, can I see your printed portfolio?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So Sandy just asked the $64,000 question, which is, how do you get thousands of followers on Insta? And
that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think with Insta and with every other platform, it's a combination of persistence, and it's a combination of experimentation.
Well,
Go
and
ahead.
on that too is social media has kind of created this environment where like now you actually have to be social.
Yeah, right.
It's not enough to just post pretty pictures. And yes, sometimes, like, especially if you're posting pretty pictures of half naked women, you're going to get followers because let's just face it, that it is what it is.
Right.
But where it comes down to is like you have to be social. You have to be engaging with the people that are engaging with you, and you have to be providing value. So, like, what are you providing on your social media that is valuable to your clients or your current audience? And then you have to be consistent, because think of it this way: if like I start following someone and they're putting out all this great work, all this great advice, like everything they're putting out is really resonating with me, and then I check back and there's nothing, and for like 2-3 weeks there's nothing new posted, I'm just going to kind of forget about that account, because now all of a sudden like you're not engaging with me, you're not giving me anything to come back to. So I think that's probably one of the keys. But again, I don't have like millions of followers, so
Yeah, I mean, I'm bad on Instagram. I'm really bad. All of you who follow me on Instagram know that I post poorly, which is to say rarely, which is something that I'm going to be getting better at, mostly because A, I have to, and B, Zara and I are kind of pushing ourselves to get better at that. I think you're better at Instagram than I am, Zara.
yeah, but I suck at Facebook. And
Well, I mean, I suck at Facebook too. Let's face it. The only, the one that I'm like really good at is where we are right now, which is the YouTube.
right.
So I mean, I play to my strengths, but I'm trying to branch that out. But it's. I think what you were saying about being social and that engagement, I think that is really the most important thing, because you want to make some kind of a connection with people. I can't tell you how often I get people who message me, whether it's on Facebook, Insta, or a comment on YouTube, or even through my email, and they are surprised when I reply back and happy about that. And I'm just like I'm a regular dude, right? Like, it looks impressive when you see my YouTube and I have 83,000 subscribers. I get that because, I look at whatever, Peter McKinnon's YouTube and he's got 40 bajillion subscribers, but he's just a dude too. And he just hit upon a thing that a lot of people really like. So if you can find and hit upon that thing that a lot of people really like, and then keep leaning into that, you'll find your way. Yes, you're fighting against things like the fucking algorithm and,
Right.
and people who do follow for follow and all of the other BS that's out there. But if you just focus on engaging and providing value in your content, you will find your way. It may not be super fast, but you'll get there.
Right. And someone just mentioned, I saw it and now I don't see it wherever it was. It's way better to have, a handful of followers, like a couple of hundred that are actually engaging and like into your product and into the services you're selling versus having thousands that don't engage. So I was listening to a podcast, I think it was yesterday morning, and they were talking about, so it was a woman who owns dance studios, and she was saying that for her, so she owns dance studios and then she does all this like public speaking and things like that to help people build their brick and mortar businesses. And she was saying that their like local dance studio Instagram accounts only had like 3,000 people who followed. But then her personal one that was more of like the business coaching and the brand and all that had like, 10,000 people who were following her. And she got more engagement out of the 3,000 that were local versus out of the 10,000, which means like, yeah, you have this big number, but if all your money is made from over here with the three, like I would much rather have the quality over the quantity.
Yep. Yeah, that was Cochise Hart who said that, and I agree 100% with that. I look at my subscribers on YouTube, and here's an interesting thing, and this is pretty universal across the board on YouTube. The subscriber number, it's not meaningless. And the same kind of goes with the Instagram follower and all these other numbers. They mean something, but they also don't mean anything at the same time. Because all of these platforms are using their algorithms to try to figure out what to show people. And so for every video that I put up, the percentage of subscribers that watch my video is like, 5-10%. The rest of the views come from people who are searching YouTube to learn about photography. And so it's connecting with, it's like doing this, right? Like we are here chatting with you guys. Again, we've got S Squared Design Works here. Shane is here, Cochise and Steve and Sandy and Felipe's here and Harley and Subvids. All you guys are here because you like, and CyberDoc is here too, right? And Tim, all you guys are here because, hopefully you like me, and now you like Zara too, right? And like Shane said that, or Steve said he followed, or one of you guys said, I can't find the chat now, but somebody said that they followed you because I suggested they do, right? And that's
because you're the trusted advisor,
right? I mean, you guys trust me, and I, and so you trust me to not steer you wrong, and that's really important. Like that's more important than the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's word of mouth marketing, right? Like there's nothing more valuable than word of mouth marketing. Like I will take my friend's word over anyone else's every day of the week. I can, if they tell me a restaurant is good and I'll read reviews and the reviews say, no, it's not good, I'll still give that restaurant a try because I have a personal recommendation.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that means a lot. It was Shane that said that he followed you after I mentioned and recommended you.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks to both of you.
And I appreciate it too. Like I appreciate that you guys trust me and that, you're willing to subscribe to Zara and, give her a chance. Steve had a question, and then Luis is here, and we'll answer your question. So Steve was asking, and this actually sounds like a really good idea. He said, being that you both seem to be on the way to working together on the business side, would there be an opportunity for website critiques in the future? I don't know. Yeah, I think that's something that we could do.
I feel like that's pretty reasonable. I don't. I tear apart my friends' websites all the time.
Yeah, I think we could do that on the Business Windup easily. We could, like maybe once a month we do a website critique show or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that would be fun. I like that idea. Steve, that's a great idea.
Especially if we drink a little bit.
Right.
Could be good. Could be really terrible.
Right.
Careful what you guys wish for.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe not take that advice.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Or with a gallon of wine.
Yes. Margarita.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ooh, margaritas. Ooh. That sounds good. So S Squared Design said, awesome info, and I think this applies to more than just photography. And I think you're right about that.
Right.
It really does. Luis's question was, speaking of followers, are you worried about Instagram hiding the number of followers or not at all? I am not at all. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like the followers, I know there's going to be people who throw a fit about that because their, entire way of making money comes from that little number that's at the top. So, like some Instagram models and influencers and people like that who are getting deals on, sponsorships and things like that, companies are paying them. Yes, they're probably going to be freaking out about that. But you're still going to be able to show engagement on your images, engagement on the things you post, engagement on your videos. Like if you convert your Facebook into instead of a personal, or not Facebook, sorry, Instagram to a business, it actually gives you stats on how many people watched, your stories, how many people clicked on it, how many people went back to your profile. Like it gives you all of those stats. So like you're still going to be able to show the engagement. And so if it comes down to like, oh, I need a sponsorship from this person, you can show true engagement. Where it's going to hurt people is that if they bought 10,000 followers or they bought 20,000 followers, they're not going to be able to show that kind of engagement. So those are the people who are going to be really worried about it, because your engagement should stay the same regardless if that number shows up or not, as long as your followers are actually real and you've made the connection to like keep having them come back and like listen to you and engage with you.
Yeah. And that's precisely what Instagram is working against, is the bots and buying followers and whatnot. They're trying to de-emphasize the numbers and emphasize the connections and the real connections and engagement. So I have no problem with it either. I think it's whatever. I mean, I've only got like 1,400 Instagram followers anyway, so it's not like it matters, and I'm not complaining about that, right? Like I know.
Right.
I know that there are a lot of people that are following me that I connect with and that they connect with me, and I appreciate every one of those followers. So I do want to be clear that that's not a complaint.
And here's like the best example of that. We posted the same exact thing on Tuesday, whatever it was that we initially posted about.
Yeah. It was Tuesday.
And even though I have like 2 times the followers you did, you got way more engagement on your post than I did.
Yeah.
So
it just depends.
That in itself, like it literally does not matter how many followers you have. It totally depends on the content that you're posting. So as long as you're posting good, relevant content, gonna be okay.
I think mostly people were shocked to see me in a suit.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. Steve says, I find Spyros to be more about the images over any gear ever and gives honest and fair feedback on anything someone submits. Nothing ever sucks or is a fail. Always suggestion to give back. That's kind of my ethos, is I want to give back, and I always want you to come away from anything that I put out there feeling inspired to do better, feeling inspired by the work and the good that you did, and then wanting to build upon that to create more better stuff. Like that's what I love. Rick was dropping in to say hey, which is awesome. Hello, Rick. And you guys are here all the time, Shane just said, and you're right, and we appreciate that. Like I appreciate the hell out of that. You guys don't know how much it means to me, that you come in and you spend this time with me. Like it's really, I'm constantly amazed, honestly, because you guys are taking, time out of your day and your lives. And if your lives are like mine, then they're busy as fuck, pardon my language. So
I was wondering if we could cuss on here.
Oh yeah, I
had to bite my tongue a couple of times.
No. I do try to like not cuss a ton, because we do actually have some, like Steve's daughter Maya is into photography, and so she joins the Blabs sometimes, and so I do try to keep the swearing a little on the down low, because if the kids are watching,
Right.
But yeah. Steve says work is slow. I have nothing else to do.
Well, hey.
That's awesome. We drop F-bombs by the minute. Oh God, Harley just said was the suit photoshopped on.
Yes, I didn't know he owned a suit.
It wasn't even a suit. It was just a shirt and a coat. I was wearing jeans, but still, it still looked. I like. No lie, I was shocked at how I looked in that photo. Like I keep looking at that photo and I keep thinking like, damn, who is that guy?
You
So
should wear more suits.
I should wear more suits. Okay, so wait a minute. Question. Like, because of how good I look in that suit, I kind of want to start recording my videos in the suit. Like, would that be super lame? Like, how would you guys respond to watching one of my videos with me wearing my suit? Which would be the coat and the shirt and probably a pair of jeans, but still, I want to know what you guys think about that.
I feel like you need to invest in some sports coats.
Yeah, I
Like what
probably. Right.
Troy with like his multicolored sports coats all the time.
Steve says could be your new shtick.
Yeah,
Oh
could
God,
be.
yeah, it could be. Shane had another comment too and said even when Spyros tells you your photo is crap, he did it to me last week. He does it in a way that makes you want to get better, not pissed off. Um, and it is about giving you constructive criticism and helping you guys be better at whatever it is you want to be better at.
Here's my 2 cents on that is
Mm-hmm.
I've never learned from anyone in this industry who's kissed my ass and told me that I'm doing amazing.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I remember the first time I submitted to a print competition and the picture I submitted, I just remember it clear as day. I probably have it somewhere. I should find it. But it was something that like everyone had told me, oh my God, this is amazing. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I submitted it and it was like ripped apart, like
Mm-hmm.
bad to the point where I was like, I am never like submitting to print comp again. Like, and for a couple of years I did it because
Mm-hmm.
this is the worst thing. I don't want to feel like that. And then I realized like the more I got into this industry, it was like that was the way for me to actually become a better photographer.
Right.
And like push my limits. And so, the past couple of years I submit and most of the time the images are meriting, but I had one like a year or 2 years ago where I submitted and the judge was actually a friend of mine, but like didn't know that it was my image. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was listening to the critique and he was like, this is great. It really looks like someone I know, like who shot this. He goes, but I don't understand why like there's it was like a picture in Paris that I took, and there was like someone in a red raincoat in the background. So the main subject's over here, but there's like this little speck of red in the back. And he was like, if that was taken away, like your eye directly goes to that because the image is like so muted in colors. And I was like, oh man, I didn't even see that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't see that red speck. And so now I make sure that I look for like trash cans and like random little color spots and things like that. If it's an image that I'm going to submit, for a print comp, or if it's something that's going to be printed really large on my, customer's wall, I want to make sure that there aren't any distractions in the background. And it was something I had never considered before.
Yeah,
So,
that's something that I learned as part of just editing my photos. And it's how I approach part of my editing process. Like when I'm doing the cleanup, I'm always looking for I'm always zooming out and just letting my eye wander and looking for the things that are distracting me from whatever the story and the subject is of the image that I'm trying to create. I've never submitted to a print contest though, no particular reason, but like I keep thinking about doing it for the reasons that you were just talking about, right? To get the kind of feedback
yep.
that will help me grow and become an even better photographer. Which
Yeah,
is
it's honestly one of the best things I've done after I got over the initial, hurt feelings and
yeah,
oh no, everyone thinks I suck, which is
right.
like, and that's the difference too, is like just because your image isn't technically correct doesn't mean that it can't make you money.
Yeah. And well, tell
Uh,
tell them what you were telling me about when you were doing that judging and the comment that you
yeah.
kept making and what the judges said to you. Because
So I was
this is
out in
this is
Missouri. I was
important.
speaking at the Missouri PPA for their state convention, and they asked me to judge because I'm pretty familiar with the judging process. And so we were sitting there, and there's like 6 of us plus a head judge, and images kept coming up, and my comment would almost always be like, "Well, that's a sellable image," and the head judge like literally stopped the judging process and was like, you need to stop saying that. And I was like, what do you mean I need to stop saying that? And he goes, you need to stop saying it's a sellable image. If it's a sellable image, it's at best a 75, which is not a merit. So anything over an 80 with PPA, so Professional Photographers of America, anything over an 80 is a merit. Anything under an 80 is not. So like if an image is at 75, it's a sellable image, at least in my opinion. And most of the other judges agreed with me. But it's not up to the standards of being a merit image from a technical standpoint. And so that was kind of like an aha moment for me because I've always said, like, we sell emotions. Like, I'm not selling you technically correct images. That's not what I'm in the business for. I'm selling you emotions. Like, I'm getting, your kid graduating. I'm getting pictures of you guys getting married. I'm getting you the experience of boudoir. People don't spend thousands of dollars with me because of a technically correct image. They're spending thousands of dollars because they're emotionally connected to that. And that's what they value. So, if you guys are going to submit to Print Cup, just keep that in mind. It doesn't mean you're a bad business person. It doesn't mean you're a bad photographer. It just means you're not hitting those 12 points that they're looking at for that image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the things that I think about too, is what you were just saying, which is that I'm generally not shooting for technical perfection either. Like I'm shooting for the art and the creativity of it. And so for that reason, like there are flaws in my images, and I'll recognize them after the fact, and I'll be mad at myself because I didn't catch it while I was shooting,
right.
Where I could have fixed it. But it'll still be an image that I'm really proud of because of what we created, and the story that's being told, and the fact that I can overlook that technical imperfection because of the image as a whole, despite that existing in it. This has been a fun conversation. So we got some other comments here. Let's see. What are your plans for the Simple Photo Show? Rick, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Unless you're talking about the Wind Up Wednesday. That's going to be our business advice show. But clarify your question there. Steve says, family and friends are not good for critiques at all. I don't even ask them anymore. They give their opinions, but that's it. Yeah. And the people who, are your friends and family, they're not going to want to hurt your feelings most of the time. So even if they don't like it, they're probably going to tell you that they do. I am fortunate that my wife is not like that. And so she will tell me when she doesn't like an image. However, on the flip of that too, like I also respect that my wife can dislike an image, but I can still like it. Because there are a number of images that I've created that she just flat out doesn't like. She does not like them. And they're some of my favorites. And it's, we just have different tastes. That's where opinion is dangerous too, right? Because if a person lets that bias come into their critique or judging, if it's a judging situation, that can have a negative effect on a person because they might be overly critical of it because they don't like it without being able to step back from that and say, whether or not I like it, is this image good based upon objective criteria, whatever that might be. And that's how I always try to approach the critiques that we do on the photo blabs and stuff, right? Like there may be an image that I personally don't enjoy. It doesn't appeal to me just because it doesn't appeal to me. That doesn't make it a bad image. And even though it may not be an image that I am, excited by, I still look at that objectively and try to find the good things that were done in that and try to find the constructive criticism that I can give to a person for it.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a question on critiques of like your style doesn't match the others from Luis, and the way that the PPA and I think WPPI and a couple of the other conferences, you have a panel of judges, and the reason you have a panel is because of that reason. So images come up on the screen, everyone gives a score that they feel like the image deserves. And then if there is one that's like a real outlier, that person can challenge it. So either way, like if it's below or above, and once the image is challenged, so like let's say an image pops up and everyone gives it an 80 to an 85. Like they average it out and that's it. but let's say like everyone gives it an 80 to 85 and then one person gives it 100. This person can challenge for that image to come up, and then they'll give why they think it deserves 100 or a higher score. And then the other people, they'll go around in a circle and everyone gives their opinion. That's where I kept saying, well, it's a sellable image. What do you guys want? And so that they go around, and I posted the link for the 12 elements that most print comps look for. Like one of them is impact. Was the image impactful? One of them is like, was it in focus? Is the coloring good? Like things like that. And so the panels are typically, 6 to 7 people, and you get to vote on them. So you're getting a pretty fair assessment from different perspectives. So it's never going to be like, yes, if it's only one person critiquing it, then definitely take it with, a margarita or a gallon of wine. But when you have a good panel, then you're going to get an opinion. And you might still not agree with the opinion because maybe they're not understanding what the message is of that image, but you're going to get a pretty fair assessment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Luis or Christian said, I think that clients are the end all to this. They come to you for your style.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely true. But that goes back to, I'm not sure if you caught this, Christian, but that goes back to what Zara was saying a little bit earlier, which is that when you're judging something like in a print competition, that's a totally different thing than judging the kind of work you might sell to a client, which is what what she got pulled aside for when she kept saying, well, that's a sellable image. Yeah, so it is a different thing. I was just looking at these 12 elements, and though like I've never actually structurally, that's all right, Christian, it doesn't matter that you missed it. I just wanted to reiterate the point. Looking at this PPA list, though, like I've never tried to structure my critiques in a particular way, but I can see in these sort of 12 elements of a merit image, things that I look for when I am giving a critique and things that I try to provide feedback on, which makes me feel like I'm doing a pretty decent job.
Right.
Yeah, that's something.
And the other thing, too, that it's interesting is a lot of times, because in photography, I think in any art, like emotion is such an important part of it. What I noticed is that like the titles are incredibly impactful when it's submitting an image. So for example, 2 years ago, I had an image of Captain America, Rebecca's ex, actually, that I shot and I submitted it. And initially the image was titled Stand Your Ground, and it's Captain America. He's like looking over his shoulder and kind of like looking down. And the image from the districts came back at it was like initially at like a merit, and then it dropped down to a 79. So like right on the cusp. And I was like, well, what the heck do you guys want? So when I listened to the critique, it was like, just the image does not portray standing your ground because he's looking down. And so I didn't do any other editing, but I changed the title to The Cost of Freedom, resubmitted it to the national level, and it merited. Like it was literally a matter of the title. And so like you have to keep in mind that like the impact, the emotional impact is really important with your images.
Yeah.
So super blurry, if that's what you were going for, then, and it has that impact, it could still do really well.
Yeah, it makes me think of Top Chef. My wife and I have been watching the old Top Chef seasons, and so often a chef will get criticized not because the food wasn't good, but because they sold something that the food wasn't. They called it this, and the food was that. And that's the same thing, right? It's the title that gives that first impression, and then you got to deliver what that title is in the image itself. All right, we got some other comments here, and then we should probably wrap this bad boy up because I got videos to record. I think you've got videos to record too, don't you, Zara?
I'm going to try. We'll see how it goes. I've been saying that every single day this week, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So up here, Rick said, an S Squared Design said, getting a critique, you need to be ready to have that person not like it and give you their honest opinion. And that's very, very true. You always have to be prepared for that. The one thing that I've always felt, though, is that when a person does that, and I'm not pointing to anyone in particular, but when a person does that, they don't have to be an asshole about it.
Right.
Some people can be assholes about it when they're doing that, and I've never agreed with that. That's like a Steve Jobs mentality to make a person feel like crap to try to push them to their
Right.
max. And if that works for a person, fine. But I've never agreed with that philosophy.
It's a very Soviet way of thinking.
Yeah, right, exactly. Rick says, I find the photo critique so valuable. The one negative I keep getting is to simplify, so this coming critique is of particular importance. Ah, okay, and that's what Rick was talking about. With the upcoming photo blab theme is simplify. So we're challenging people to take a photo that embodies that word, simplify, or simplicity is actually the word. And I'm
Okay.
excited for that challenge. And if you're wondering about that challenge, like interpret that word as you will. There's no boundaries around it. The main thing is that you're delivering simplicity in the image, whatever you mean, whatever you take that to mean. And it could mean, I mean, simple is a word that you can define. Simple means something that is, simple. Using the word to define it, that's a really bad idea. But you get the idea, right? So I'm excited to see that because I think this is going to show a lot in how people interpret something, because I think it can be pretty difficult to take a word like simplicity and put it into an image well. It can be easy, but it can also be something that's pretty hard. How would you approach that, Zara?
Right. It's interesting because like I work with a photographer that like he prided himself on like simplicity, and in his definition of simplicity was like plain background, like gray white backdrop, and a model, like one subject trying to tell a story with just that subject, without props, without things like that. And to me, like simplicity is just clean, and so like for example, if I was submitting something to that, I would probably do like a landscape shot of just a field, like to me
Right?
that, or like a farmhouse, like to me that's simplicity, or like kitchen, versus like his was how can I tell the most complex story with one thing.
And
So
I
it's interesting.
yeah, I think I would align with him because in the Facebook group, some people are asking about it, and we're asking about what I think of as simplicity. And I
Right.
tried to make clear that this is my interpretation of it. You are free to interpret it as you will, but I put
Right.
this image up as one example of what I kind of consider simplicity to be, which is along the same lines. I tend to shoot work that focuses on a singular subject, where I try to have every element in the frame somehow contributing to the story and the subject. Often the backgrounds are fairly simple. This one is a bit messy with the paint, so there is some complexity to it, but I still feel this image, for me at least, embodies the idea of simplicity. And
Right.
this is an example. So
I love that image, by the way.
thank you. This is one of my all-time favorite images. I love this image as well. All right. Let's see here. We've got. Oh, and Shane was agreeing with Rick's comment about finding the critiques valuable. Let's see here. Okay, Rick asked if I'd consider giving some kind of rating to images, and Shane followed up saying ratings could be counterproductive. He doesn't like scales. I think I would feel the same way. For the purposes of what we're doing on like on the shows that Mark and I do together on the blabs, I don't think I'd feel comfortable trying to create a rating system. Number one, I'm not good at rating things anyway, because when I rate things, I typically tend to rate things as in like a pass fail. It's either yes or no. So to me, an image is either I like it or I don't, and then I'm willing to
Right.
talk about why I do or don't like it. But for me, rating things like, oh, this is a 5 or this is a 7, like if we did a 1 to 10, I wouldn't be comfortable doing that. I don't like putting that kind of a value on a thing. Because it is objective, I'd rather focus on that constructive criticism and feedback. That's what I tend to focus on. Yeah, for me,
And I would
it's
agree
like,
with that. It's like black and white. There isn't
yeah,
really like a scale.
yeah. That's why I've never understood star ratings in like Lightroom or whatever. Like 1 to 5. Like to me, that makes no sense because it's either good enough or it's not good enough, and I'm either keeping it or I'm deleting it. But
You know where the star ratings come in handy is in camera. If your camera has the function to star things. And so, like, if I'm shooting and I see an image that I really like, I'll star it. Later, Lightroom will actually pause. So I can just say, okay, show me all my starred images. And if I'm doing like a sneak peek or something like that, I can pick one of those instead of having to go through all my images.
I wonder if I can do that. I'm gonna look.
I know the 5Ds, the 3 and 4 definitely do it.
Okay.
There's a Nikon that does it, and then my Sonys do it.
I don't think my Olympus does it. I'll have to look in the menu though. Okay, let's get through the rest of these comments and then we'll wrap this up. Let's see. We answered Luis's question. James said, that's why I have joined the online forums. Those guys can be heartless about images, right? And their opinions, Shane says, can sway someone that was in the fence about your image. That's very true, too. All right. Steve said, yes, if you shoot lots of shallow depth of field, going back to what I was talking about, liking versus critiquing, and a judge doesn't like that style, you hope they don't kill it for that.
Right.
Christian
And I'll
said-
say this, if
Go
any
ahead.
of you guys are actually going to submit images to, PPA, old, wrinkly men or women do really well. Do really well. So if you're submitting one of those, you're going to do well. You're safe.
What was the second one? I missed that.
Puppies.
Oh.
With dogs.
So what about an old wrinkly puppy? Or an old wrinkly dog?
Oh.
That's
going to pull on those heartstrings. Oh, black and white. That's my running joke.
Old wrinkly black and white dog photo. That's a guaranteed PPA winner. I love it. All right. Yep. James had a question about the image critiques and what the process is to submit. So let me just detail that for you guys who are wondering. We do on Mondays. I do a live stream at 6 p.m. Central. That's 11 p.m. Zulu time. Or GMT, if you don't know what Zulu is. And that's myself and Mark. This is not Mark, even though it says Mark under her name. It's under her. It is Zara. But Mark and I do this show. So every other Monday, we have an assignment. And then every other Monday, it's just an open submission for us to take a look at your photos and critique. This coming Monday is an open show. And all you need to do is have an image ready and show up to the stream. And then I have a link where you can share the image the night of. I don't take it by email. I don't take it by Dropbox. I tried all those other methods and they were a giant pain in the ass. So there's this tool I use that allows image sharing very easily. So just subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and keep an eye out for the Monday live streams. That's when we do the critiques, and you're welcome to submit during the show. So there's that. Oh, Rick had a question for you, Zara. What is your favorite contemporary photography? Who has influenced your art?
That's a really loaded question for me because I don't feel like anyone in particular really influences the way I shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that as far as a photographer that influence my business and how I think about things and those, it would be Dave Junian. And I know Dave from AD, and I credit so much of where I am as a business owner, as a human being, and with my photography too, to AD and to Dave. And so really any of those guys, and most of them I'm sure you guys don't really know, Richard Sturdivant and Ben Shirk, Mike Rittinger, so people like that who they're kind of more old school, they're the PPA, but people like that who really they've made a business out of photography and then they became better artists. So that's kind of my again, like a lot of my work is from like commercials or magazines. Like that's where my influence for like posing and lighting and things like that comes from.
Yeah, I take a lot just
But
from media around me as well.
yeah.
There's one photographer, I can't remember. I think, I don't know if this is the right photographer. I feel so bad because it's this photographer that I really enjoy. There's this one particular photo that I always loved because of the whimsy of it that always inspired me, but I don't remember his name. It's like David Chappelle or David LaChapelle. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Do you gotta go? If you gotta go, we can wrap this up, Zara.
Oh no, I've got nothing going on. You're just preventing me from recording those videos. I'll just link that when you ask me later.
Right. I couldn't. We were on the stream. I
Right,
can't find
exactly.
it. I can't find it. Anyway, it's. I take it from a lot of just sort of like the world around me. All
Yeah,
right.
that's kind of how I am. So
Yeah. Let's see
I
here.
mean, it's kind of a cop out answer, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. It really is. Um, Shane says it seems like Spyros sandwiches is negatives between two positives, a compliment sandwich. I do that deliberately. Because, the positives help reinforce what you're doing well. The negatives help you understand how to improve.
Right.
Um, S squared says you need to find that card and do some editing, Zara.
I do. And now I'm honestly like, where did I put it? Because I know I remember pulling it out of my camera. Maybe I didn't pull it out of my camera.
And it's still sitting in the camera. That's good.
It's the last session that I shot, so we'll find out here in a few minutes.
Right. Christian says, I think I nailed the challenge. You do, Christian. I'm going to say that. He showed me the image and I really like it. And I'm excited to see it. Let's see. John Lewis is in the building. Hey, John. And PM is here as well. Hello. Steve says, I'm needing to find the motivation to actually record some videos and start posting here. Finding the right content to go with is really hard. I understand that, but do it. Like, start. Because if you don't start, you're not going to do it. So just start doing it. Get out there and make some damn videos, right?
There you go. I did that. Well, it took you coming to Denver,
right? Which
get me to do one,
right? And I can't even believe how well that worked out because that was a total fluke that happened, right?
We did not plan that.
No. What happened? This is funny. So I'll share this story and then we'll wrap this up because we do both need to get to recording videos,
right?
But Zara had posted on Facebook asking for help from people who do video, from her friends that do video. And I don't even remember if I commented on the post or if I just went right to Messenger, but I saw the post.
I think you just messaged me.
Yeah. I tend to do that because I find that it's much easier to have the conversation there than in the comments of a post like that. So I messaged her and I was like, what you need help with? And we were just chatting. She was asking about the gear and some of the other stuff and we were talking about it. And then I was like, wait a minute. My wife and I are going to Denver. You're in Denver. How about I come over and we just do some video stuff? If that works for you, let me know. And she was like, holy shit, yeah. So it was whatever. I think it was the Sunday, was it, that we were there? Oh, you there?
Sunday. Yep. I'm here.
Okay. Oh, you locked up for a second there. Anyway, yeah, I went over there. We worked on the video for the day. We had dinner. We had a blast. And everything just kind of has blossomed out of that. Yeah. So I'm super excited. I think we have to change our language, John says. There's no failure, just steps towards improvement. Perfection is a myth. That is so right. I 1,000,000% agree with that. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, it's so funny because like if we get up, I actually had one of my friends texted me and she was like, how do you like pick something and stick to it? Mm-hmm. And it's like, how many people have given up on so many things purely because it was hard?
Yeah.
Or purely because they hit a snag. And it's like, you got to put yourself between a rock and a hard place and just do it and know that by the time like you see any of us become someone, like whether, you're being an influencer, you built a really great business, whatever, before you see any of that, like there's so many years
Mm-hmm.
that you see. And people think that like overnight successes happen, but no, like we've all failed a million times.
Yep. Yeah. I
It's
mean,
one successful moment.
yep. Every photographer's past is littered with thousands of terrible images. Thousands and thousands of them. Every one of us. Every one of us.
I'm gonna post one here shortly.
Yeah. Rick had a question, and I'm going to take a stab at it. I'm pretty sure you're going to agree with me, Zara. Rick is wondering, can I go on to make contestant quality images learning just from YouTube and the occasional book? And I'll start by saying 1,000% yes. I have no formal photography education. Everything I learned,
Neither do I.
I learned from books, magazines, and most importantly, by shooting, by taking some damn photos. That's why I say that at the end of
Yep.
every single one of my videos. If you are pushing yourself to grow and you are shooting, you will learn and you will improve. You can 1,000,000% take contestant level amazing images.
Right. That is the only thing I would add is like actually going out and doing it, because I think as like artists, as like visual people, obviously in photography, like I personally learn better by doing. Like if I touch it, I'll remember how to do it
Mm-hmm.
versus reading about it or hearing about it. So yeah, 100. I have no formal education. Like my degrees are in psychology and human resource management, pretty much. I
Yeah.
got into photography accidentally.
Right. Ah.
So,
All right. Well, there was one other comment that I wanted to pull out here. S Squared said, this has been a great stream today. Great info, both Spiros and Zara, and the chat. I agree. This has really been fun. Um, Rick says, this chat was the coolest Friday picker-upper. Awesome.
yay!
Oh, and Leo
You're welcome.
Manchetti. Yeah. Hello, Leo Manchetti, and hello to Bella JB, who joined late, and also to PM. Thank you guys for joining. But we are going to wrap this up. So to wrap this up, let's just tell everybody exactly what's going on Wednesday. So if you guys want to join that stream, you can. So Zara, why don't you tell them a little bit about it, and I'm going to pull up the links for our Facebook stuff.
Okay. So pretty much we had this great idea to drink on Wednesday mornings and talk photography business, because like both of us started out in such different ways, and like with me, like I never had an intention of actually building a photography business. Like I was just managing a studio, trying to figure out what to do next after I got a psychology degree. And so where I really excel at is I have helped so many people, both in photography and outside of photography, build their businesses and actually be profitable in their businesses. And so the whole point of this is just to like help whoever we can, however many people we can, to try to build their business so that they can be achieving whatever they want, whether it's, a $100,000 business, $1 million business, or, just some extra cash on the side. I think it's so important to actually have that business conversation, because I think most of you who are either in photography or are getting into photography, everyone gets in with the idea of, oh, I'm going to go out and like all I'm going to do is take these great pictures. But in reality, like 10% of the photography business is actually shooting, versus the 90% is all the back end stuff that you want to, poke your eyeball out with a pencil. And so building that workflow, did you just have a visual of me poking my eyeball out with a pencil?
No, no, no. I was imagining myself wanting to rip my head off dealing with all of that shit when it comes to YouTube, right? Because like
Right.
making a YouTube video is like 1/10 of being a YouTuber and my business. The
Right.
rest of it is all of that other shit that wants me to do exactly that, like poke
Yep.
my eyeballs out.
Yeah, and I think that's like any business. Like the fun part of it is like maybe 15% if you're really lucky. The rest of it is paperwork and paying taxes and things like that. So um, we figured that if we can give like a little bit of an insight to it and then just answer any questions,
Mm-hmm.
a good time, that would be beneficial to people. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. So I put into the chat. There's a Facebook group that it's Zara's group, but I'm also an admin, so we're kind of jumping on this together. It's the Facebook group that you should join, and also follow both of our pages on Facebook, because the Business Windup live stream is going to be on Facebook. So follow us there, and it'll be there every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central, 3 p.m. Zulu time. Leo Manchetti, I apologize. One of the things that I've been bad at in general is announcing these live streams and the scheduling. So if you want to make sure you don't miss one of these live streams, I'm going to go into the... Bella JB doesn't have a Facebook. I think you can still watch it even though you don't have a Facebook, because I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think you can be in the group though.
Yeah, but if it's on our pages, it should be there. Christian says you're terrible at it. Yeah, Christian, I'm fucking awful at it. I know. I know. So here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to blast out my live streaming schedule, which will include the Photo Labs, the Wind Up Wednesday, and these Friday live streams. So you guys can go and join. Luis says you can send notifications through YouTube announcing your streams 1 or 2 hours in advance.
Oh.
I mean, I did schedule the event a couple hours beforehand, but maybe I should also start doing like one of those community posts. I don't know. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna work on doing that better. I promise you that. Okay. I promise you that. I'm going to work on doing that better so you guys don't miss these streams. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Zara, do you got anything you want to add before we wrap this up?
Nope. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for letting me be Mark for the day.
The regular Mark will be back on Monday for our photo lab. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you so much. Make sure you get out there and take some damn photos already. Bye.
I second that.
Yeah.